Dateline, Pennsylvania, where one city has entered the 21st century 50 years ahead of schedule.
Here in Punch Bowl, for the first time in human history, life is what it was meant to be, free of all unpleasantness. Why, someday the entire world will be like Punch Bowl, but for now, it stands alone, a beacon of purity and human potential in a world of social upheaval and moral turpitude.
The main plus about Stubbs the Zombie is just the sense of humor in the game. It's basically just a game where you go and you eat people's brains, and that's pretty much what happens throughout the course of the game. There's not much setup in Stubbs. It's basically, they give you a setting, it's Punch Bowl, it's a 1950s style retro futuristic world, and you just pop out of the ground. There's no preamble, there's no motivation. You just pop out of the ground and immediately start grabbing people and fighting and building this horde of zombies that you're going to bring along with you to kill even more people. You'll have a variety of powers at your disposal, and the hand is by far the most entertaining weapon to use, just because you can throw it. It gives you a special hand cam that you can control. You can run the hand along floors, you can run it up walls, you can run it across the ceiling, drop it on enemy's head, and provided they're not wearing a helmet, gain control of their motor senses. And in essence, this gives you access to the game's arsenal. You'll never have a gun yourself. You're a zombie. Zombies aren't that smart. They can't really control firearms, but other people can. So you'll get to use handguns, rocket launchers, shotguns, even front-loading muskets. One of the most entertaining parts of Stubbs, and something that's going to keep you hooked to keep coming back to the game every time, is the character sound effects.
Oh God, not like this!
It's pretty humorous, and is what's going to keep you moving along through the game, because it's certainly not going to be the plot. Oftentimes you won't know where you're actually going or what you're actually doing until you've actually done it. There is some vehicle control in the games, and this game being based on the Halo engine, you'll find most of the vehicles control exactly like the vehicles did in Halo, such as the Jeep controls much like the Warthog. But none of it's really ever that fun. It's mostly pretty sterile. None of the sequences last very long. So it's a nice little diversion once in a while, but nothing major. The graphics in Stubbs aren't really one of its strong points, but they don't really detract from the overall experience. You'll always have a solid frame rate. You'll see some nice textures here and there, although they don't really show up in the cooperative modes. But don't expect to be blown away by this game's visuals, but they definitely do their job, and they do it quite well. The level design in Stubbs, though the graphics do a decent job of bringing out the style of the game, every level is very linear. Even some of the vehicle levels, you're just going from point A to point B. It's very clear where you're supposed to go, and it just basically turns into, here's an area, here's a bunch of people you can eat, go do it, then you'll get to the next area. I would have liked to have seen a lot more variety in the level design, maybe some much more open spaces where you could go several different paths and still get to the same endpoint, but in this case it's pretty much just go a straight line the whole way through. There are a few unique game modes in Stubbs embedded within the actual people-eating gameplay, such as a dance-off with a police captain, which is really absurd when you first see it, but it turns out to be a lot of fun. It's sort of a Simon Says memory type game where you repeat dance commands, and by successfully matching the policeman's dance style, you beat a boss. Unfortunately, this is really the only time that these sort of absurd gameplay elements come in to the game, and the rest of it just proceeds as normal, where point A to point B eat face. And I really would have liked to see more of those modes. I think it's very representative of the sense of humor in this game, which is its strongest point. And it's just a much more entertaining diversion than the vehicles are. And maybe if this game ever does see a sequel, that would be a good thing to have in there. Along with the game's sense of humor, Stubbs' cooperative mode is really the other big plus in the game. you know, it's fun enough to go through a game by yourself and murder a couple people, but it's just way more entertaining to do it in the company of others, especially if that person happens to be playing the same game. And plus, it's just way easier to make your way through the levels. You can do tandem attacks on people. You can run around with two hands on heads, and controlling ray guns and rocket launchers and rifles and that sort of thing. It definitely heightens the enjoyment you're going to get out of the title to just have someone else there. For me, Stubbs is a game that just on some weekend, it's a great title to pick up and just play a couple levels in, you know, eat some humans, control a zombie horde for maybe an hour or two, and then put it back down and maybe forget about it for a while. It's a fun experience in little bits. It's nothing that's going to absorb hours and hours and hours of your attention. It's a great game to play if you happen to have a friend over and you just want to do something for a little while. So in that sense, it's fun. It's not deep, and it's not exactly a lasting gameplay experience, but it's something that you're going to remember for a while, and it's definitely worth checking out if you just want a funny, entertaining game in small doses.